Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, everyone. I hope and pray for your well being. And here we are on our 123rd program. And I thank you very much for motivating me all the way to this state where we are here today to share the wisdom of a person who is known for his wisdom sharing. We are today with a person who is known to be a millionaire executive coach, speaker, author, CEO of the Master the Talk Consulting Career Counselor at JCC Workforce Program. And when I asked him about his introduction, he usually introduced himself as someone. In his words, he states that as far as crazy stories go, I changed career a total of 5 times while living with $250,000 in law school debt in New York City, ultimately building the millionaire startup, consulting and executive coaches business I run today. Master the Talk Consulting, masterthetalk.com. I've overcome tremendous challenges several times in my life and help my clients to do the same through changing their language and psychology. He further states in his introduction that with a background in neuroscience and anthropology, I specialize in helping millionaires and Gen Z clients challenge their conventional thinking about how to dramatically improve the trajectory of their thinking, careers, and businesses. In just short of 15 months' time, I have bootstrapped it from a side hobby to a $200,000 plus per year business, as well as getting myself published in Forbes, HuffPost, Fast Company, Mashable, BBC, PBC, and many others. My story is crazier than most, even for a millionaire. I'm talking about nobody else other than Yuri Kruman, who has written one book. He is going to launch his second book as well in January. Let us go straight to Yuri and ask for his introduction and wisdom sharing. How are you, Yuri?
I'm doing well, Shazad. Thank you very much for having me on. It's great to speak with you.
I'm really feeling excited and I'm looking forward for great and exciting discussion ahead of us. Thank you very much formally once again for accepting the invitation. Just to start with, you are caught on various occasions on social media saying, talking similar codes and emphasizing on few of the basic concepts which you think that are important for millionaires. Just to start with, how do you define the term millionaires in the first instance, Yuri?
I don't mean to sound flip. I know this may sound very different to a different audience, but in America, I don't think being a millionaire is some kind of crazy achievement necessarily. I think there's something like 3 million millionaires here. So being a millionaire by itself is not some kind of crowning achievement. It's all about how you got there and how are you going to sustain it. That's what matters. If we're talking about building a business from scratch, and of course, the less support you have, the less funds to start with. All of those factors make sense. But for me personally, I've been fortunate to meet and to know many people that are from very wealthy backgrounds or from great educational backgrounds. Being a millionaire by itself is not some sort of magic magic crowning achievement. It's all about the story behind it, which I think is part of why we're here.
Murari, you usually talk about millionaires and Generation Z. If the things are that much common, as you say that there is nothing special about millionaires, then why to put the focus on them all the time? If I'm going to be asked, I think that we are at times we are too harsh with the millionaires. Don't you think so?
I don't know. Things look very different from different perspectives. If you grow up with nothing in a third world country where you have very few opportunities, of course, $1 million is a huge deal. And on the other hand, if you grow up, in one of the wealthiest zip codes, let's say close to New York City, being a millionaire is almost expected. It's like if you don't make it there, something's really wrong. Right. So it's all a matter of perspective. I personally, I don't necessarily dwell on, oh no, I have to listen to millionaires and billionaires. They have some very useful things to say, but that's not because of their bank account size. It's because of their story. It's because of what they've learned, how many people they've helped, how they've built their business. That's what's really interesting to me. I'm I'm not here to glorify somebody for making money or for perhaps maintaining that money.
Yeah, that is true. On one instance, you told us that to get your dream career, you started out in neuroscience, PhD, then left for studying law, got into finance, then into health technology startups, and eventually started Master the Talk. Uh, Briefly tell us about this journey. And then you already mentioned that in between unemployment, depression, starting a family, living in New York City with the 250,000 in law school debt, a kid with cancer, and still making life and business work somehow. The question states that if life and work can go hand in hand, the manner you are taking them all the way along, what is the trick to do that for the people who usually lose hope, or they lost the way somewhere in between?
First of all, I always like to joke, kids, don't try this at home. Nobody sets out. Nobody. I don't know one person who sets out to go on a crazy winding path and look for all of that, for unemployment, for crazy debt. Part of it is maybe because I'm a novelist. I've written 2 novels before I wrote any of my other books. It's an overactive imagination. It's basically saying, oh, the world is amazing. There's no shortage of incredible people and incredible things to see and nature and all of that stuff. But that's, it's at a certain point you have to kind of like put your feet on the ground and okay, I have a life to live. I have a mission. I have to have some kind of vision. Where am I going? What is this for? Whom am I serving? Of course, I want to start a family. I want to have kids. I want to have a house. I don't know if I want to live in whatever suburb with a 2-car garage. For me, that's not that important. But okay, my most important factors. I think this is kind of what I would love to get across here. What does it take to get through something so crazy? I would say there, first of all, is faith. I mean, I don't want to mince words. Faith in God is perhaps the one overriding factor. If you don't believe in some kind of greater purpose, if you don't believe that there's a creator, I don't know if you want to call it intelligent design, or you want to say that the universe has rules, it doesn't matter. If you don't kind of see that, if you don't see yourself as part of something greater, it's going to be very, very difficult to climb out of the trap of your own ego. Because again, if you're why do things like depression happen? Yeah, it's a chemical imbalance, but also because people dwell too much on themselves. Oh, I'm no good. I'm this and that. Look at me compared to that guy. Right. So in a way, you have to keep moving, because you know that you're meant for something greater. You know that you have some kind of superpower. And I don't mean to sound like I'm writing a comic here. I really do sincerely believe that. That's part of my coaching. That's part of the books that I write. I really sincerely believe every single person has some kind of fundamental superpower, something at which they're incredible at, but they may not see it as something valuable, and somebody else might not value it because it's not under the math and science umbrella, or they're not playing violin, right? Intelligence has many forms, and mastery also has many forms. So aside from faith, hard work, right? There's no alternative. You have to work very, very hard. You have to be incredibly long enough to understand the rules of the game, and then to perhaps play that game with very few resources, if any, except your mind and your hard work. And eventually, you get some traction. You have to sell something. Whether it's your services, your help, your coaching, your software. You have to sell something. You have to create recurring revenue. And from there, you're able to invest more and more in yourself. And that's maybe the third piece. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're holding, whatever circumstances in life, you find yourself, you have to invest relentlessly in yourself, in your own personal development, and also in empowering others. That's something for which you don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to have anything in life. All you need to do is listen, maybe smile to someone, even though you're feeling like garbage. These are pretty timeless things. This is not something that we need the gurus for, or we need billionaires to tell us. These are pretty obvious things that we learn by living. So I would say that those are the three most important pieces of why I'm still here. Frankly, that's maybe the simplest way to put it. There's faith in God, there's hard work, and relentlessly investing in my personal and professional development. And on the flip side of that, going and doing that for others as well, because that's how you solidify it.
Beautiful. You have encompassed all the 3 points very excellently in a brief time. You stated that number one, faith in God or the superpower, and number two is the hard work, and number three is to strive for the best form of yourself, and then helping others to achieve their excellence as well. Now the question states that if I am to overcome a self ego, and if I am to believe that I carry fundamental superpower in myself too, then how one can find the superpower of him or herself by him or herself without any mentor or without any expert around him?
Great question. First of all, there is no such thing as I have no mentor and no expert. You have, if you have access to the internet or podcasts, radio, anything, there's no shortage of wonderful resources that are perfectly free, accessible anytime, anywhere, that you can listen to, you can read, you can try to understand all kinds of resources to work through this. I'm happy to share my framework, something that I came up with more or less, because I had no choice. I had to figure these things out, or otherwise, probably my wife would have left me, rightfully so, because I was drifting. I was clueless. Who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? How am I going to make this work? So there are four pillars. Number one is life mission. So this is not for when I'm 120 years old and I'm a billionaire, what will I do with that money? That's not life mission. Okay. Nor is it, okay, what am I doing for the next year? Am I selling something on Amazon? No, that's not your life mission. Yeah, you have to think 10 years out. It's a relatively medium term. And in that 10 years, you have to sit down and visualize. I mean, literally close your eyes and visualize, what does success look like for me, right, in 10 years? So there's the physical trappings. I have a house, I have a convertible, I have a wife, two kids, God bless, whatever works for you. Okay. But then there's the equally important part of professionally. What does that mission look like? When in 10 years, I've solved a really fundamentally important problem for me. Okay. So think about it like this. Everybody growing up has some kind of issues, some kind of trauma, something that they had to overcome. Somebody has health issues. Someone else grew up completely, without a penny. Somebody else had some kind of really traumatic experience during travel. I don't know, right? Everybody has baggage. You have to dig in that baggage, whatever you put away in your closet. That's where the gold is. That's what people don't understand. They try to normalize themselves and make themselves look like everybody else and sound like everybody else. The gold is in your experience. How have you helped yourself? Use that so now you can go help others. I'll give you an example. Let's say you decide, I want to go and cure AIDS in Thailand. Okay, great. So let's say you think like a project manager. So you have 10 years to do it. What do you need to build a company? What do you need to hire a great team? You need to raise a ton of money, right? You need to develop a drug. You need to get it approved by the FDA. You need to go to Thailand, liaise with the health ministry, identify the target population, get them the existing antiretroviral drugs, and then give them your blockbuster drug. Bam, 10 years, you're successful. Sounds nice, right? Plans go awry, but if you have a plan to begin with, you can take a detour, but you know where you're going. So that's what life mission is. 10 years out, you're successful in having solved a problem, and you've achieved success in your life in a way that makes you feel like, okay, I'm somewhere where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Number two is values. It's not necessarily to do with religious values. Of course, for some people, that's very important. But it's really looking at people that in your life, currently or in the past, have empowered you. What are their personality traits? What are their values? Right? Are they kind? Are they generous? Are they hilarious? Are they brilliant? Who are those people? Are they professors? Are they, your favorite uncle? Is this someone whose podcast you listen to, or someone's book you read? Anyone can be a mentor, right? And you distill those values by thinking about specific people. And why is it that they are the ones that push you really meaningfully to become a better version of yourself, professionally and as a human? That's values. Number three is outcomes. So you're not looking for some kind of deliverable at work. Okay, you're looking and saying, okay, when I do work, whatever that work is, there are hopefully at least one or two tasks that I really enjoy doing. meaning a channel for your energy to get out of your body. Okay? So some people are great strategists. They love to think about, I don't know, playing Risk or Monopoly and thinking about, 20 years out and what stocks do I need to invest in, and basically looking at the world map and making all the connections. Right? You're the person who makes all the connections. Maybe you're someone who's an evangelist. You've worked your way up, or you bootstrapped it. You're working on this critical product. Okay, and you're saying, "Come work with me. Come invest in me. We're going to do the most important things since sliced bread." Okay. Someone else is an operator. They put on blinds and they say, "Budget, timeline, done." Someone else might be a caretaker. They might say, "Are you okay? Do you need coffee? Can I support you? Do you need this and that?" Right? Somebody else might be a niche expert. They're absolutely focused on one very, very narrow subject, and they write white papers about it. They speak all day about it. It's this absolute obsession about something very narrow. Okay, God bless. So you have to think about for yourself, out of these different kinds of channels, if I had to choose one, and that's the key. Most people, they can't choose just one. If I had to choose just one of those, what is it? How does my energy best leave my body in order to serve others and also make me feel good? Why not? And the fourth one is number 4 is role. When you look at your personal life, you think about the same kinds of outcomes. Okay? In your personal life, with your friends, with your family, when you're traveling, when you're just being yourself without any sort of politics in your head, how does your energy best leave the body? So I like to think, let's say you're traveling somewhere with friends. Okay? Maybe you're somehow having a misadventure in Morocco. Okay? And in that misadventure, you get robbed by Bedouins. What do you do now, right? So you have somebody, usually, I don't know, someone that speaks Moroccan Arabic. He's that niche expert. He's the best in the world. So he talks to the Bedouins and they let you go. Great. Someone else is this brilliant strategist. He says, the angle of the sun is 33 degrees and, the mountain pass is over there. And, the train is set to come in at 12 o'clock. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Great. Someone else is a project manager. He's like, okay, all right, I got the plan. Let me go and execute it. You do this, you do that. Great. Someone else says, did you have water to drink? Did you eat your salad? Whatever. Somebody else says, give me your money. I'll go get the train tickets. The evangelist. Okay. You have to think in a situation like that. All of us have been in some kind of, bizarre situations where we're thrown off balance. How do we react? What was our favorite thing to run with? Okay, so we have life mission, values, outcomes, and role. And then there are 2 other pieces to this which are just as important. One is negative scripts. So you have to look in your mind and see this little bird that's always chirping there. Oh, you're not good enough. You don't have the right degree. You don't have the right experience. Who are you? Who do you think you are? That's more or less your amygdala going wild. That's your sympathetic nervous system firing on all cylinders. And it's not truth. It's just a signal that's too strong. It's too much noise. Okay? So lever down the noise. You can't kill the bird. You're not going to kill all your doubts overnight. There's no magic pill for that. But you don't have to listen. You just factor in that's not really the truth. Okay? And the last one, I really like this. This is actually why I do coaching. It's called founding stories. Okay? So some people have, again, those misadventures. They have health issues. They have financial issues. Some people are immigrants. Some people go through divorce, religious conversion. I mean, there's no shortage of quote unquote baggage. And so you have to think, okay, what have I been through? What problems have I had to solve for myself or for my family or friends or whoever? And how did I do it? What's my methodology? What are my 4 pillars, right? And then you can take that and you can go and you can work and help people to do that. You don't have to become a missionary. You don't have to become a coach. But guess what? You've helped yourself, so now you can go help others, and you can probably charge them good money for it. So that's how I approach this whole process. How do I figure myself out? Where am I supposed to go? Then you think about the tactics of, I need to change my resume. I need to change my LinkedIn profile. I need to have that expert help me right? The tactics come second, not first. That's what most people mess up.
So what you want to say is that the journey will really start when we will start from the end. If we have the destination in our eyes very clear, then the journey can start from the first step. And you have given us four pillars to name few of them. Visualize, or you have must have your vision or mission to solve the problem. Then you should carry on some values, then the outcomes, and then last but certainly not least was the roles discussion. And when you say about four things, I recall, I think this number four is very important when we talk to Yuri Kruman, because there is another phenomena which he uses in his upcoming book, which is entitled as Be Your Own Commander in Chief, in which he says that there are four wings or pillars like a drone has, and it can fly anywhere. All the four works even may fail, so the central force is needed for them to propel and work, and this is all to be the commander-in-chief for yourself. Yuri, tell us something about your new book, Be Your Own Commander-in-Chief, and what is all it is all about.
Sure. So going with the same theme of four, just a little bit of background. So about a year and a half ago, I did a campaign. People pre-bought the book, but it was called something different, and it was a totally different book. It was called Mastering the Talk to Master Your Life, and that's based on the name of my company, based on the four pillars I just explained. Excuse me. So I'm sitting one day, and again, people may have different opinions on how this happens or why, but I think I was in the shower, and it's one of the best places to think for whatever reason, right? You're relaxed. So it just dawned on me. I think I got a gift from God, sincerely. I really believe that, right? I just realized, I'm focusing on one out of four major components for the conversations that we should have in our head. So it's not enough. This is something that I guess it's both a blessing and a curse. I was born with the ability to speak to almost anyone, to relate to almost anyone. That means maybe I can work with them, I can get a job with them, I can ace the interview. The curse of that is that if you don't know who you are or where you're going, you'll talk your way into great things on paper, but very bad as fits for you. So I realized, okay, yeah, it's great. It's very important. Again, that's the coaching piece. Tell me how to ace the interview and win the business deal and negotiate and all that stuff. But it's only one of four pieces, and you can't miss the other three. So what are the other three? First is your body, right? Your health. You can't do anything. You can't get very far if you don't have your health. So taking the approach of 80-20, right? You want to focus on the 20% of things that will give you the 80% of the effect, which means, certain basics around fitness and nutrition and understanding your circadian rhythms and essentially, knowing what not to do. Sometimes that's just as important, if not more important than what I should be doing. Number two is mind. So everyone, let's say, very ambitious young people, they may not have a lot of resources, but their mind is running 1,000 miles an hour, and they're always, making plans and this and that, right? But a lot of junk gets built up in there, that baggage. People don't really know what to do with it. It's trauma. It's things that I don't want to think about. I don't want to talk about. It makes me look bad, makes me sound bad. But again, we talked about four pillars, why that's important for clearing your head, so that you can be focused on where you're going, and then you think about how to get there. So yes, the big picture for mental models is, okay, who am I, first of all? My identity, right? So I don't know, my background, my religion, my nationality, my profession. You have to think about all of those different layers. Okay? Then you have to think, well, okay, what about life skills? This is kind of maybe sad, ironic. I don't know what you want to call it, but having left an Ivy League school, right, on paper, like, wow, I had zero life skills. I studied neuroscience, I did anthropology, but I had no bloody clue how to manage a career, how to manage finances, what is it like to build a business? Zero, nada, nothing. I had friends, who were in Wharton. They were learning already how a business works and all this stuff, and they went and built businesses. They went into finance. So I was like, oh, that sounds nice, but I didn't know how to live. How am I supposed to figure it out? Nobody taught me, right? So I had to figure it out myself. So the other parts of that, so time management, how do you manage expectations? How do you make decisions? How do you process information? Plus those life skills I mentioned. That's critical to get things straight here. not about how smart you are, it's about what you do with it. The third piece, yes, that's dealing with other people, whether that's advisors, investors, employees, bosses, vendors, right? Oh yeah, and your wife and kids. You also have to make sure to relate to them. And it's not just kind of in passing and on the way to something else. You don't just talk to your wife and kids on the way to going back to work. It doesn't work like that. So you have to have some kind of set of values. You have to understand again, why am I here in this world, right? Whom am I meant to serve? And then you think about, how am I meant to serve them? So is that through language and psychology, as is the case for me? Is that through mathematics? Maybe somebody else might be a CFO. You have to think about the channel, right? The outcomes and the role. You want to find ways to kind of join the two at the hip. So ideally, you're working on something that's personally important. Okay. And then the last pillar, this is talking about God and the universe, right? Because it's wonderful if you take great care of your health. It's tremendous if you have your focus and you know exactly who you are and where you're going. It's brilliant. If you've got 3 of these, you're really doing well, right? You know how to negotiate, how to persuade someone. You know who you are and how you're serving those people. But if you have no sense of, okay, well, like, why was I meant to go through all of that trauma and craziness and dead ends and all of that stuff, my baggage, why did I have to go through it? Like, why do good people suffer, right? So you have to have some bigger scheme, bigger idea of why God, why did you put me through that? What am I meant to learn? Because there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain in the process, right? You mentioned a few of these things, right? There's unemployment, there's massive debt, there's, I married someone from a totally different culture, right? So I'm Russian, Jewish, and my wife is French, Tunisian, also Moroccan. She grew up in Morocco, Jewish. So, different ways of raising kids, different ways of seeing the world, very different ways of communicating. There's kind of, just completely different ways of seeing things. She's an engineer. I'm much more of a creative guy, right? So you combine those two things, and it's in the beginning, there's just a series of explosions where you're like, you don't know what to do. But over time, you find, areas of balance. You find pockets where you respect each other, and other places where you have to, kind of create a new compromise. So bottom line is that you need all 4 of those in order to not just be healthy, not just to know who you are and where you're going, and not just to be able to sweet talk anybody into just about anything. We need to know, okay, I have X number of years here, hopefully 120. Okay. And how am I meant to use them? Because yeah, there will be trauma, there will be bad circumstances, there will be not enough money, there's cyclical events about the economy and politics and conflict. All of that will happen at some point. And if you know who you are, where you're going, you'll figure out the how. You'll figure out the tactics of getting from where you are to that next stage. But if you don't have that bigger picture, you're not going to be able to, you'll suffer, but you won't know why. And that's not a good trajectory.
Yuri, I don't need the answer to a comment I'm going to make, but just for your information, I had another mentor of mine on this similar platform 2 days ago, and we were discussing all these 4 points: soul, mind, heart, and health. And I asked him to rate or rank them in priority. And unlike you, he had placed spirits or the soul on number 1 and health on number 4. And unlike you are placing health on the first point, then mind, and then heart, and then lastly you have talked about spirits. Just a comment here from my side. Now, just moving towards the last part of the program, if I have to ask you one question, that during all of your downtimes, I had also been into these similar downtimes around 27 years ago. I had a bullet injury and I was facing death, and just I came back from that point of life. So I understand, but for the viewers or the audience around me, what single success formula or recipe or ingredient to the best recipe you have whenever a person is going to face the downtimes of his life? What single formula do you have for him or her?
Excuse me. I would just say that this question comes up a lot. I think the most important part is just to understand that God does not test you with things that you can't handle. And if that's the single thought that you have throughout all of your difficulties, throughout depression, unemployment, lack of resources, anything, if God is putting you through whatever situation it is, you're meant to be there. You are exactly where you're meant to be with the people that you're meant to be with right now. That's the key piece. Now figure out why. Figure out why and keep iterating and keep doing something with it. Keep moving. Keep trying. Things will work out. That's the craziest thing. Things will work out if you have faith in God, if you work hard, and if you invest like crazy above everything else in your personal and professional development.
I'm happy. I'm so happy and glad that we both are on the same page, because the holy book of our side of the planet states that yes, in Surah Baqarah's last ruku, it is stated that God has always give you the difficulties or adversities for which you are already capable of. Thank you very much for your time and wisdom sharing. Just to recap what Yuri has said to you, all of you watching this program, that you have to think about why I am here, whom I'm to serve, and how I'm going to serve them. Thank you very much, Yuri, for your time and wisdom sharing. I wish you good luck. I
Thanks
don't
so
see
much.
you best in form in terms of physical appearance, because I believe that you are not 100% today. But thanks again for your time. Inshallah, we are going to catch you again. Take very best care of yourself. See you again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Be well. Take care.